With so many gacha games available at your fingertips, it's important to be able to know which ones are actually worth sinking your time into. In this series, I'll be covering whether or not I believe a gacha is worth a new addition to your lineup. First things first, in order to avoid doing a review a disservice like I did Chaos Zero Nightmare, I'm going to play each game for at least 1 week, regardless of my own bias and judgment. Now that we've established how not to evaluate a game, we can ask the big question. Should you play Stella Sora? A character with 2 right hands, a ridiculously expensive gacha system, and an apology just 2 weeks after its global release. Was Stella Sora's scuffed launch blown out of proportion due to a hate bandwagon, or a justified reaction at poor quality? Stella Sora is a gacha game developed by Yoastar, the same ones who published Azure Lane, Arc Knights, and Blue Archive. But that's not what drew me to this game, because as someone who's never played those titles despite how well established they are, I was more interested in the gameplay. The core of the game itself is an action RPG with WASD controls and the main mode being a roguelite. You make your team of 3 characters with 1 main trekker who you control throughout the run and 2 side trekkers whose skills and ultimates you have access to. Then you equip 6 discs, which are this game's equivalent of weapons, consisting of 3 main discs and 3 support discs, and complete a set amount of floors picking up upgrades to enhance your team's strength and overall rating. Pretty simple stuff. Each character can be played as either a main trekker or a side trekker, but there are roles that dictate where they're best suited. Vanguards are meant to be the leading role with offensive kits and high damage, supports are meant to be side characters providing more utility and buffs, and versatiles are able to flex either position with a mix of both. But, because you aren't locked to a role, there's potential success in playing certain characters in different positions. One of the things I appreciate about this game is how it follows the gameplay loop of roguelites where you find some incredibly broken tech or builds you've never tried. Supports are a bit more boring because they largely seem to be some variation of giving you a shield, attack, or crit stats. While you can alter their skills to have different effects, it feels a bit unrewarding to get an upgrade for a marginal stat boost compared to modifying your main character's attacks. This brings us to the next topic, being team building. A majority of teams don't seem to promote much flexibility due to a core combat mechanic, that being marks. Marks are the equivalent of elemental effects applied by supports and versatiles by their abilities and ultimates. Your Vanguard or Versatile can then trigger these through their abilities, which will produce an effect which can vary not just by their element, but the character themselves. While not inherently bad, these marks can only be triggered by trekkers of the same element. In addition to this, some potentials, which are the upgrades you pick up along your run, also only buff characters of the same element. Combined with the small pool of release characters, this makes for an unsatisfactory experience team building. Despite this, there are supports who give universal buffs that allow them to be flexed outside of their element, so it's only a matter of time before a new incredibly powerful build is found. So while you are incentivized to build around your element, the game rewards your knowledge and experimenting with creative and game-breaking builds. What I found interesting is that once you finish a run, you use it to complete every non-story game mode such as farming, weekly bosses, and the endgame. You also don't need any stamina or resin to do a run of the Ascension, so while you could theoretically just fish for the perfect run with Turbo Bis, they have single-use tickets to speed up the process dramatically. Keep in mind, however, that a lot of your character's power is tied to their level, skills, and discs. Now that we've covered a majority of the gameplay mechanics, we can move on to the story. You pick between the male and female main character, but you aren't locked to either and can switch freely. Apparently, the different main characters have different dialogues, but I haven't played both, so don't quote me on that. From what I've gathered, you're some sort of amnesiac who lay dormant for an unknown period of time before being picked up by your new harem, or rather your companions, after they found you within a monolith. Monoliths are landforms which are home to wishing boxes, the main source of artifacts. Trekkers scale these monoliths to collect artifacts and make their living from them. The current story follows this with a few hiccups and bumps along the way which introduce other characters and the like, but it's nothing extraordinary. It does just enough to be coherent, but not enough to be intriguing. The story is relatively short, so there is a lot of room for them to go, though as it stands, it's hard carried by the personality of your main character. There are also almost 0 guys in this game. I guess that's the direction they decide this game is going, but so far the only male characters are the main character himself and the nameless fodder. There are character stories, but I haven't bothered to read them just yet. But because a notorious stereotype is that gacha players can't read, this part is best kept short. Progression in this game is extremely resource heavy. Leveling a character will take a ridiculous amount of stamina just to gather the materials to increase their level cap. The main issue with farming these materials is that you aren't guaranteed to get the specific drop you need, as the domains for the resources are combined into both character and disc level ups. I haven't found out what exactly determines which materials the discs need, but this kinda just results in getting resources for something you might not need at the moment. This also doesn't mention how much you need to level up or get your skills leveled up. I would assume maxing a character past the honeymoon phase would be an absolute slog. There are several teams you'd want to have for the endgame modes, as they try to have you build one for each element. Aqua, Ignis, Ventus, Terra, Lux, and Umbra. I guess this is the trade-off for being able to do unlimited runs to farm your perfect build, but it still feels pretty bad to see such slow progress. But that's not why you're here. The most important part of any slot machine game is the gacha and monetization. When you first start, you have the same system as Epic 7, where you do several individual temples and select which set of rules you want to start the game with. Because I play a lot of Star Rail, I'll be using their rates and currency as the comparison. Star Rail's base chance at a 5-star is 0.6%, with a 56.4% chance of obtaining the rate up character. If you miss the rate up character, your next 5-star is guaranteed to be the rate up character. This carries over between every limited banner with a 5-star guarantee every 90 pulls, resetting once you acquire any 5-star character. On the other hand, Stella Sora's base chance at a 5-star is 2% with a 50% chance of obtaining the rate up character, which is amazing until you realize there's no guarantee after losing the 50-50. Stella Sora instead has two systems. The first is a spark guarantee like Uma Musume, 120 pulls and you can claim the limited character. The other being a universal banner pity similar to Star Rail, capping out at 160 pulls. The spark does not carry over, so if you want to safely guarantee a character, your best bet is to stock up 120 pulls and just claim them, whereas the universal banner pity does carry over and resets once you acquire the current limited banner character through pulls, not sparks. Looking at the numbers, Star Rail guarantees the banner character at 180 pulls, though because of soft pity it's slightly lower. Stella Sora on the other hand guarantees the banner character at 120 and 160 pulls. So why is Stella Sora worse despite having two ways to acquire the rate up? Stella Sora costs 300 premium currency per pull. Looking at this website and ignoring the first time bonus, we can see Stella Sora gives 13,630 premium currency for its $100 package, which is about 45 pulls. Star Rail gives 8,080 premium currency for its $100 package, which is about 50 pulls. So while they are relative, the problem lies in natural income. The higher pull cost means the free-to-play economy is less stable. The replenishable sources of premium currency are slow to restock, so as it stands, the devs will have to put up a Cygames level performance for us players to reliably get characters and their disc. But regardless of any issues I have with the game, it's still a very enjoyable experience. The gameplay makes it so every character is playable in a specific build, but because the honeymoon phase has ended, it'll take a while before any newcomer will be able to experiment with several different teams. So, to answer my previous question, should you play Stella Sora? I'd say yes, just as a side game, as admittedly there is a bit of a content drought beyond the story until you get to the endgame. As with most gacha, it's a marathon, not a race, and don't expect to be able to roll down on random banners without getting punished for poor impulse control. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate if you interacted with it. Like and subscribe for more.